FlyinGato squad, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well today. I know I am. So, today's topic at hand is the Civic Hatchback trims. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I'm getting a lot of questions on, you know, what are the differences between all the trims? Are they all really the same? Sport, the LX, there's no difference, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is quite a bit of a difference. You know, it may or may not matter to you, but there's quite a bit of a difference between all the different ranges, all the different models. So depending on what's more important to you, you can choose whatever trim you want. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's take a look at my Sport and how it looks. Alright, I think it's a good looking car, especially in the Sport trim. Let's start explaining the LX trim. Now, the LX trim is the cheapest of the range. It's the bottom end, and it's going to have the least amount of features. So if you look at the LX, it'll have a chromed out exterior. It'll have smaller rims, smaller chromed out rims, which in my opinion are the ugliest rims in the range. Again, it's my opinion. Some people might like that, so, you know, more power to them. It's also 0.2 inches higher than the Sport trim. That's important to note. So the suspension is a little bit different on the Sports than on the LX. So, with that said, it's 0.2 inches lower. The Sport is 0.2 inches lower than the LX. And the other difference with the LX is that it has a slightly less powerful engine. Now, it's the same exact engine, same turbo, same everything else. And the biggest difference is that there's a small tune to it. So Honda says that because of the exhaust, that the Sport trim makes a little bit more power. I don't know about all that. So talking about the exhaust, the LX does not have a center mounted exhaust. It just has the tucked in hidden exhaust. You don't even see exhaust pipes, which is fine. Some people don't care about that. Now, the biggest differences between the Sport and LX comes in the driving portion, because the interior of both the LX and the Sport are basically identical. You know, you're not going to find any differences in there. It's going to have the same radio, it's going to have the same climate control, it's going to have the same everything else. So the biggest difference is going to be driving. So the other thing that the LX doesn't have, or the difference between the LX and the Sport, is that the LX, the steering is not as fast a steering rack as the Sport steering rack. So the Sport steering rack is a much tighter one. So what that means is that from lock to lock, it's less turns from lock to lock in the Sport than it is to the LX. How that affects it is that in the LX you have less steering feel than the Sport. And some people actually might like that. Now, I've mentioned it before, in the highway, this car is a little bit finicky. You have to be very precise in what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to end up, you know, in a place you're not. In the LX is a little bit easier because you don't have to care that much. It's not as precise as the Sport. Now, if you care about driving and you're a driving enthusiast like I am, you're gonna want the Sport steering rack because it's a sportier feel, and you feel the road better, and it's a much faster steering rack. So all the inputs are that much more precise. So that's basically the main thing. So the suspension is a little bit different, a little bit softer on the LX versus the Sport, and the looks are different, obviously. It's a little bit down on power, but you won't notice it, I promise you that. I've driven both, I didn't notice it. And the steering rack is different as well. So between the LX and the Sport, those are the differences. So you go from the LX to the Sport. Now the Sport, the one I'm in, the one I bought, in my opinion, is the best of the range, because I don't really care too much about radio, I don't care too much about the nav, I don't care too much about the heated seats. So I wanted something quick. You know, I'm an enthusiast, I'm a driving enthusiast, so I wanted something quicker, I wanted something fun. So the Sport has a quicker steering motion, like I said. It has the Sport trim on the outside, you know, it has the blacked out window trims. It's just, and it's got the rear mounted, center mounted exhaust, which is awesome. So it's just a better look. It's a nice car, but what it's lacking, now we're comparing the Sport to the EX, it's lacking a lot of features. So the radio is the main thing that it's lacking for most people. So the radio on the Sport is a little tiny non-touch screen, you know, not powerful. People don't like it. I don't blame them. It's not the best radio. When you get up to the EX trim, it's a more powerful radio. It's a touchscreen. You got Android and Apple CarPlay, so you could just hook up your phone and you could get the maps through there. You can get your text through there. You can do everything you want. So multimedia-wise, EX is what you want. Now it also has all the LX. So EX has all of the LX suspension bits, so it's still 0.2 inches higher than the Sport. It's got the LX steering rack, so it's not as precise steering, and it's got the LX engine tune, so it's got slightly less power, and it also doesn't have the center mounted exhaust. So basically, the EX is an LX with a bunch of interior bits improved. The Sport is an LX with a few exterior and handling bits improved. Now we get to the EXL. The EXL is the same exact car as the EX, except that it has heated seats, leather seats. It has an actual navigation built in, so you don't have to have a phone to actually have navigation. And it has an 8-way adjustable seat in the front for the driver. So it's got all those features, but it still doesn't have, you know, it's 0.2 inches higher than the Sports. It doesn't have as tight a steering rack, and it doesn't have the engine tune that the Sport has. It doesn't have the center mounted exhaust. Again, on the top of the, before I go on, the EXL also brings with it the driving suite. You know, the Honda driving suite. It helps, you know, lane mitigation, whatever stuff I don't really care about, because I do my own driving. I don't really care too much about this stuff, but you might care about that. So the EX and EXL have that standard. On the LX, it's available. On the Sport, the driving assistant features are not available. Keep in mind, until you get to the Sport Touring. In the Sport Touring, you're gonna get all the features for all of the cars. Basically, you know, the lowered suspension, the tighter steering rack, the more powerful engine, the Honda Lane Watch, all the driver assistance. You're gonna get the better headlights at this point, so you're just gonna get different and better headlights, and you're gonna be getting 0.2 inches lower than the rest of the range. So it basically gets all of the good features of the Sport and all the good features of the EXL, and adds a few more technology bits, the headlights in the front, and puts it all together in one neat package and calls it the Touring package. So the Touring package is the top of the range, unless you consider the Type R. Now the Type R on the hatchback range is the top of the range. So you know, it's gonna have a different engine, it's gonna have a different suspension setup, different brakes, different everything else. So I'll cover the Type R on many other different videos. I just wanted to cover the trims for the current Civic hatchback. Alright guys, thanks for watching. As always, please, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
We've both been there before. When a laugh shuts the door, it's a losing game. It's a losing game. But this time it's more than another lot of war. This ain't the same. This ain't the same. They say